You are watching DHTV from California State University, Dominguez Hills.
Now we are going to cover Africa, and we're going to appreciate the people's experiences in developing sophisticated centralized state societies and their interactions with the world. And one of the reasons why I like using the textbook selected for this course is that it gives credit to sub-Saharan Africa's influence on Egyptian development. And after this presentation, I'm going to encourage you to view the first 24 minutes of a documentary by renowned journalist and historian Basil Davidson, who challenged historians and anthropologists to recognize the contributions of Africans to world civilizations. But first, let's take a look at a topographical map of Africa and appreciate its diversity. Now, for every unique environmental feature of the African continent, as this topographical map reveals, comes a richness of culture and human expression, given credence to what everyone knows as the beauty of blackness. Most often, since the time of European colonialism and subsequent inheritance we face today from the disease known as white supremacy, the continent's population has always been presented as the savagery of dark Africa. And this notion can be related to the fact that when you take a look at the Saharan desert, it acted as a natural barrier between the Mediterranean world and the sub-Saharan African expression. Europeans, when they ventured out of their isolated regions and encountered the world in the 1500s, scarcely knew that Africa existed. Yet when we look at the geographical diversity of Africa, we can appreciate that with the multiplicity of environments comes an assortment of color inherent in the beauty of what it means to be black. From the chocolate brown skin of the Mediterranean world that was influenced by an Afro-Eurasian milieu, to the varying degrees of blackness springing from the most densely populated regions found along the Niger River system in West Africa, to the Congo River system in Central Africa, all the way to the multifaceted orange-hued blackness of East Africa. So let's understand and appreciate something about the diversity that is influenced by the climate of 5 zones. First, there are the Great Deserts, the Saharan separating Europe from Africa, the Namib Desert stretching along the southern African coast, and the Kalahari Desert in the south-central part of the continent. There are the mild and temperate zones providing abundance in the Mediterranean and the southern coasts. Then there is the Sahel, which are treeless steppes accompanied by grass-covered plains. And the most important is the rainforest along the equator that needs protection today. And the most popular hunting regions the world knows is the savanna zone, because it consists of grasslands just north and south of the equator. So when we understand and appreciate something about sub-Saharan Africa, recent archaeological and anthropological discoveries have shown that African societies were much more involved in worldwide developments of human history that had previously been believed. From the rich grassy plains of the savanna, archaic traditions paved the path from ecologically sensitive subsistence communities to societies based on their political units on lineage and clans. It is understood that crop cultivation began independently in Ethiopia, the Central Sudan, and the Upper Niger River system, all prior to the development of Egypt as a major player in the civilization ranking game. So let's appreciate some of these civilizations. One is the ancient civilization known as the Kush. It was initially called Nubia. Evidence suggests that it may have developed an agricultural kingdom before the Egyptians. It was a civilization that had its own language, a definite organization of governmental power, and a high level of mercantile success. Another ancient civilization that arose in the highlands of what is known as Ethiopia today was Aksum. Aksum was founded possibly by migrants from the kingdom of Saba or Sheba in the Arabian Peninsula. And at one point in time, the Sahara Desert was an area that was green and flourishing with life. The people of North Africa, known as the Berbers, served as trade intermediaries when the great trans-Saharan commerce began. Then in the rich, fertile valleys of West Africa arose the great ironworking culture of northern Nigeria known as the Nok. East and South African trade provided a lively ocean-going commercial intercourse with civilizations to the east. Malayan traders and settlers introduced yams and bananas to Africa, establishing trading centers on the island of Madagascar. So let's appreciate something about the traditions of sub-Saharan Africa. Close-knit communities emerging from the Niger River system, as the map reveals, began transmigrations across Central Africa, journeying to the east and south. And as the communities emerged from the Archaic period, their ecologically sensitive subsistence techniques influenced an oral tradition centered around the woman. By tracing their ancestry through the mother, societies created matrilineal cultures. The Bantu migrations influenced important cultural traditions in art, music, literature, and dance. And Bantu became identified as the family of languages of the people of the south of the Saharan desert, and their religious beliefs solidified in the understanding of one creator God, however so defined, and the ordinary people or the living of the earth. The problem is that the ordinary or living of the earth were not empowered to communicate with the divine, but they needed priests or mediums who could intercede and communicate, one with deities who had access to the divine, and the other were ancestor spirits living in the world of the divine who could serve as guides for the people. The idea was to call upon the spirits in order to assist the ordinary in following an honorable path. And this belief in ancestral spirits made family the most important social unit, and it influenced the development of matrilineal practices. Women became the agriculturalists in West Africa, where the taro root, okra, and yams became the staple crops. Men cleared the land. Men became the weavers. They made tools and they traded surplus products. Women would deliberate on which men would lead their communities. So politically, the village units were the mainstay of the economy, organized into larger marketing systems, and then came under the supervision or the control of a kingship system. Bantu cultural expressions were rooted in environmental religions. So to make the spirits come alive, the living of the earth needed environmental assistance coupled with human ingenuity and expression. So the use of percussion, drums, harps, flutes, horns, dance, sculpted masks and figures representing spirits of those who had gone before, along with singing and incantations. These encourage vibrant polysemal expressions that energize the soul. And these practices are embodied in the t-shirt that I wear. It is a Zimbabwe saying that says, if you can talk, you can sing, if you can walk, you can dance. So with regards to urban life of African towns, it can be said that they usually developed from small fortified walled villages. Now, the lowest, most basic level of African social groupings was the nuclear family. And matrilineal expressions influenced behavioral patterns between the sexes that were relaxed and respectful rather than domineering and abusive. And their art reflected environmental influences, where wood carvings represented spiritual renewal, and bronze and iron statuary depicted the complexities and richness of both court life and common expressions. So let's understand and appreciate music. Music employed various instruments, including the harp, bells, and xylophone, and music was central to understanding respect for the spirits. African music produced a totality of music in its combination of voice and instrument sounds. And finally, African culture created an impressive oral literary tradition. This was a tradition based on its use of bards to retain and spread communal history and religious beliefs. Now, I wish to end this presentation by having you watch segments from 2 documentaries that follow this recording. And please watch the first 24 minutes of episode 1 of a documentary series by renowned journalist and historian Basil Davison. Now, his contributions to the African presence in world history are profound. He was an activist in anti-racism and social justice, as you will come to understand when viewing his passionate presentation. You are welcome to watch the episode in its entirety, as it will prepare you for the next presentation on Egypt. Then, immediately thereafter, I ask you to watch the first 30 minutes of PBS's Africa's Great Civilization. It's part 1 that's hosted by Henry Louis Gates. And I'd appreciate that you come and understand the interpretation of Africa as it has come to full fruition since Basil Davidson's 1984 production. So that ends this presentation. Thanks.